I believe to everything that we do, there's advantages and disadvantages to it. To any decision we make, to any action we take, to anything we see and support and stand by, there's pros and cons to it. So my principle is, before I do anything, before I take a step, I try to figure out clearly the pros and cons and find ways to maximize the pros and also find ways to minimize the cons to benefit me at long run. I believe, and this is my own opinion, that democracy is the best form of governance because it's by the people and it's for the people. The people choose who should lead them. The people choose who should be in that position of power. The people choose who they give the mantle to manage their affairs. And also, the reason why I think democracy is the best form of governance is because with my research, the way I'm seeing it, I believe and I think democracy, the pros in democracy outweighs all the pros in other forms of governance, whether it's monarchy form of governance, whether it's dictatorship form of governance, whether it's aristocracy, whether it's autocratic form of governance. I believe the pros in democracy outweighs the cons and also outweighs all the pros in all other forms of governance. But my president, our own president, our beloved president, His Excellency Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, has declared clearly that on a state conference or a state media or interview, whatever you call it, that the people of Burkina Faso, the Burkina base, should forget about democracy because it's not returning anytime soon, or they are not going to be in a democratic form of governance or system in their country because there's pressing things, there are necessary things they need to prioritize first. There are things they have to put in place to help in the development of the country, of their country, before they even think of democracy. And he cited an example why he thinks democracy won't help Burkina Faso. He used Libya as an example. Libya before and after democracy. Right? So my senior brother, Mr. Saros Annan of Tuntum Network, did a video on that interview or statement by our president, our beloved president, Ibrahim Traoré. And we are going to do a reaction to it. We are also going to suggest or give our opinion and thoughts on this whole conversation. So join me. I go by the name Niama, and this is New LA News. If today's your first time coming across a video from this channel and find value in it, please hit the subscribe button, like, share, and comment, so we grow as a big, beautiful family together. Let's jump right into it.
Non, on ne parle même pas d'élection d'abord. On a des défis.
No, we are not even talking about election. We have challenges. We have to take them on. That is what we stick to. We are not going to bend even a little. People have to forget the question of democracy. And that is our job. We have to tell them the truth. Democracy is not for us.
La démocratie, c'est pas pour nous. La démocratie tue.
Democracy kills. That's what democracy is. Is that what we want? Look at Libya. It's an example next to us. They were living in peace. Water was free. There were so many free things. When people got married, they already had social benefits and everything. But today, some of the Libyans walk around everywhere with containers looking for water. Look at the misery there. How many hundreds of thousands of children have died? Is that democracy? Everywhere they want to install democracy in the world, it's in blood.
Pour notre public francophone intéressé à regarder nos vidéos.
So I call His Excellency Ibrahim Traoré my president because he's the kind of leader, he's the kind of president I would love personally to be my president. Yeah, because of the change, because of the positive changes and developments he's bringing to Burkina Faso. He's different from all other, or most of our African leaders, right? He's brave, he knows what he wants, which is for his country to develop, for his country to have positive change and impact, not only on the people, not only on the country, but in the whole of West Africa and Africa as a whole, right? So he's the kind of president I would love to be a citizen under. He's the kind of leader I would like to be a follower to, right? And I believe most African people would want the same thing. That's why I call him my president. I call him our president. So let's continue with the video.
En français, voici un guide rapide et facile pour vous montrer comment y parvenir. Allez sur notre chaîne. Cliquez sur l'icône des paramètres dans le coin supérieur droit. Appuyez sur la piste audio et sélectionnez la langue française.
I'm quoting Traoré from the video you just watched. We are not even talking about election. We have challenges, we have to take them on. That's what we stick to. We are not going to bend even a little. People have to forget the question of democracy, and that is a job. We have to tell the truth. Democracy is not for us. Democracy kills. That's what democracy is. Is that what we want? Ladies and gentlemen, end of quotes. Those are the direct quotes of President of Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré. Welcome to Tuntum Network.
President Ibrahim.
And thank you for joining me. And happy Easter to you wherever you find yourself this morning or evening or night, wherever you find yourself. Now, the captain has made it clear finally. And so now we can all put to rest whatever speculations we had about transitional governance in Burkina Faso. We can now all put it to rest. According to the captain in the video, the people of Burkina Faso, the citizens of Burkina Faso, the media, those who are eyeing a political career to run for president in the near future, to all the dissolved political parties in Burkina Faso, the military, and to the rest of the world at large, according to the captain of Burkina Faso, democracy, or what is also described as multi-party electoral system, is an ideology everybody should kiss goodbye under his regime. Literally, we should kiss it goodbye. The current regime is literally informing those in the room, those in the media, including all state apparatus, to go out there and make it public to the people of Burkina Faso that moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, because of the volatile situation of their country's security, there isn't going to be room for democracy or an election or anything of that sort anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. And personally, it was clear to me the first time I saw the video that it's not actual. This video is not actually meant for the people of Burkina Faso. This message was directed exclusively to Western stakeholders who are entertaining any thought of a return to constitutional rule or a change in political system. This message was meant for them. Traoré was making it clear that there is a need for undivided, centralized control of power, and in that space he will be in charge. Therefore, he will be in absolute control alongside his team, manning the affairs of the country moving forward. Traoré literally said, we have to tell them the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, democracy is not for us. Democracy kills, in his own words. And he gives examples using Libya before and after democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, he was talking to the West. This is the...
But is this Libya before democracy? Bro, it looks like Libya was on the same level with the West, with America, with the developed countries in terms of infrastructure. Right? In terms of infrastructure, it seems like Libya was on the same level with them. I don't know whether if this AI video, I don't know, because if this was Libya before democracy, and I think before democracy was like a decade or 2 decades ago, if I'm right, it's more than a decade, I think. So if in the early 2000s they made the early 2000s Libya was like this in terms of infrastructure, then bro, then democracy really didn't help them. Then this is an evidence to show and back that statement that democracy is not for us, or democracy won't help us develop. But the problem is, what if we get a person or a leader who thinks of himself, and we are in an autocratic system, in an autocracy regime, right, in a dictatorship regime, right, or we are in a one-party state kind of system or governance, right? I understand to everything there's exceptions, right? I'm saying that democracy is the best because its pros outweighs the pros of all other forms of governance, right? But there's exceptions because, for example, if your father tells you don't go out, right? Don't go out of the house. Don't go out of your mansion or the mansion. And anything you ask of your dad, he provides it to you. He allows your friends come into the house to play with you. When you ask him for a Nintendo or a gamepad, he buys it for you. When you ask him for a Ferrari, he buys it for you. Anything you ask of him, he buys it for you. But the only condition is, or the only rule is, he doesn't want you to go outside the house. I believe most of us can deal with this kind of condition. Me personally, I would accept this kind of condition if you provide everything for me, and the only rule is I shouldn't go out. Right? I'm saying this to say that the exception is that a president like Ibrahim Traoré, if he is my president, or if he is the president of Ghana, and it's like, yo, I think democracy won't help us, right? We should do away with democracy. We should kiss democracy goodbye, right? And looking at the development is bringing into my country, if he is the president of my country, why not? I'll kiss democracy goodbye. Yeah, like democracy should go away. I don't need democracy. If our leader is providing everything, he's making sure that all the basic things we need for our lives to be better, for our living conditions to be better, to be good, he's doing it for us. Why not? I would even prefer him to be president for forever. But the problem is, to her is human, right? And human be change, right? Human do change. So I'm not saying he might change in the future, but what if it happens, it changes, or it changes, and now he's thinking of himself, he's thinking of his only his interest and not the interest of the people. What do we do with, how do we deal with that too? Right? That's why I feel there's a need for democracy. So if the people thinks or see that, well, you are doing good, you are performing initially, but now you are not performing well, or there's a good candidate who we think can outperform you, then I think it's right that you also step aside, right, peacefully, and allow the new candidates come and do what? Come take us to the next level. Right? That's why I feel democracy is the best, or I think democracy outperforms or is the best in terms of forms of governance. Let's continue with the video.
This is the boldest it can get with Traoré. And now that his intentions are clear, ladies and gentlemen, in as much as I love him, this is the point where I have to be honest. I am completely worried for him. And I say so looking at the history of African leaders who made similar statements and what happened next to them, especially African countries which had some form of essential natural assets that the world needed. Ladies and gentlemen, none of them survived. They all returned to constitutional multi-party rule one way or the other, or got removed. These are the facts. In all of Africa, there is only one country with 0 national elections in modern history. 0 national elections in modern history. I mean, from all the way in the 1990s, there has been only one African country, and that is Eritrea. And even in that country, ladies and gentlemen, they have never seen
Eritrea.
Apart from that, the only time
I think Eritrea is the country tagged as the North Korea of Africa. Yeah, I've seen it somewhere that they are the North Korea of Africa. They have no access to internet, or there's limited access to internet in their country. They are almost like isolated, even though they are inside the African continent. But in terms of socializing with their neighboring countries and other African countries, they are more of like alone, right? They are the lone wolf, so as to speak, right? So I think I saw it somewhere that they are the North Korea of Africa. So well, I don't know that their form of governance they are doing over there. It might be an autocracy or autocratic or dictatorship form of governance. That's why they are not having elections, or it might be.
And there isn't an election in any African country is when there is an ongoing war. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, there is a real security threat in Burkina Faso. I know that's what the captain is referring to. There is a threat from jihadists whose ultimate plan is to topple the government. And there is another threat from those who are working on the part of the imperialists to restore democracy, so they can have access to the country's gold and manganese through their parliament, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what's shocking? Let me bring this to your attention quickly. You know what's shocking about this whole interview with Traoré? The interview was broadcast on the 3rd of April this month. But right before the video will be made public, all the international legacy media companies went on a smearing campaign against Traoré and Assimi Goïta of Mali. One day before the videos of the interview went out to the public, on the 3rd of this month, one day before the 3rd, BBC, Al Jazeera, France 24 and Radio France International all did a story on human rights violations in Burkina Faso. They all stated in their reports that from January 2023 to August 2025, Captain Traoré and his military men have killed 1,800 Burkina Faso civilians. The same story.
These are lies, bro. These are lies.
The same media machination tactic that were used
How?
to turn the
Is it civilians or
people
what?
of Libya and many other African countries against Gaddafi seems to have been deployed from one day before the video came out. They are all saying that.
But I like to say this. Thank God for social media. I believe we are in a different era and age that now we don't rely on the traditional media. We don't rely on this big Western platforms and media to get information around the world, from around the world. Thank God for social media, because it's lies. We go on the social media. If indeed His Excellency Ibrahim Traoré is killing civilians, Burkina Faso civilians, I believe people will do videos, people will do a couple of videos to tell the rest of the world what's going on in Burkina Faso. So there's lies, this are just blatant lies. Let's continue with the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, but thank God for social media. Thank
God for social media.
If not for the
thank God for social media.
Social media, how could anybody know of alternative sides of this story? Ladies and gentlemen, we know those who have died in the last 3 years in Burkina Faso. Social media, we have talked about this severally. There's been some casualties on the part of the Burkina Faso military, but ultimately the deaths have been at the hands of jihadist fighters. And the civilian deaths mostly reported are deaths that are orchestrated by these same jihadists. We know this. We have spoken about it.
We know this. We've heard of this. We've seen even recently a jihadist group attacked, a terrorist group in Burkina Faso attacked tomato merchants or tomato traders from Ghana who went to Burkina Faso to go and import tomatoes into Ghana, and they killed some of them. And these are not Burkina Faso military doing it. It's terrorist groups who are doing that. So we know that people are doing the killings in Burkina Faso. And from what we've seen or from what we've heard, the information I'm getting or from what I know, it points to this same Western people influencing and equipping these terrorist groups to try and bring disorder in Burkina Faso and most of African countries, especially when you don't want to go with their you don't want to be on their side, right? You are not part of them, you are not their guy, right? That's when they equip these terrorist groups to try and bring disorder and chaos in your country. So we know that people who are doing the killings, thanks to social media, thanks to the new age, thanks to the new media.
The deaths are not caused by Traoré nor his men. The deaths are caused by the jihadist fighters, ladies and gentlemen. We see the same thing in Nigeria, Mali, and Niger. So the narrative is not going to be what these legacy media houses project. We all have a voice at this point. The French government understands exactly what Burkina Faso's government intends to do, and they are completely against those ideas. This is their challenge. How dare Burkina Faso talk of development without France? That's how they are thinking. How dare Traoré raise funds for development without France central bank? How dare him set up companies completely owned by the state of Burkina Faso and the people? France should be at the center of it all. The French central government should be the one drawing up the budget. Ladies and gentlemen, Burkina Faso should be waiting on France for the lines of actions to take, and that's not happening. That is where the French mind are. France therefore is going all out with media smearing. France need democracy in Burkina Faso so they can use the same structures within democratic means to
So whilst we are trying to imitate or do democracy in Africa, just as the West is doing, we should realize that the West, they are not being controlled or manipulated by any other kind of people. So if we want to also practice democracy, We should find ways and means to be independent, to be self-reliant, and not be going to these people for aid so as to lead to them trying to manipulate us. Because when we go to them for aid and help in managing our affairs, definitely they'll try to also be in your affairs, because you are even inviting them into your affairs. Right? So this is how we look at things, we look at problems and find solutions to it. I still stand on the point that I prefer democracy, because I've given my reasons, right? But these are some of the challenges of democracy, because this Westerners or some of these Western countries are using democracy as a tool to exploit from us, to exploit our resources, right? So you, as an individual country or as a group of people, you put things in place, you find ways and means to solve that problem. Right? And if you should do that, you realize that democracy is not as bad as we Africa we are, or some Africans are trying to make it look like. Right? Same as autocracy. I might see autocracy to be bad, but if I should also look into its benefits, I might get a change of mind. As I said earlier in the video, to everything there's good and bad, there's advantages and disadvantages, there's pros and cons. You just have to find ways to maximize the pros and find ways to minimize the cons.
Insert themselves back into the political fabric of the country and have access to whatever they are looking for. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, Western imperialists does not like dealing with totalitarians. They don't like the idea that everything goes through one person, be it Putin, Xi Jinping, or Traoré. They simply aren't able to function in such a setting. With democracy, however, multiple parties are involved, which involves multiple individuals with divergent motives, where anything can happen. But doesn't happen like that in authoritarian regimes. With an authoritarian rule, it's either you go through the one leader or you don't. And Westerners don't particularly like that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having said all that I've said, I honestly do not find what Traoré said to be strategic at all. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I am of the belief that he could do exactly what he's doing right now without making his intentions public.
Clear.
These Western imperialists, they act based on information, and these kinds of information are what they use to support their agenda in the eyes of the media. So you don't give them anything to work with. There is a real security situation to deal with in Burkina Faso. Traoré, Mr. Traoré, just focus on that. Continue dealing with that.
So I second what Mr. Saros is saying, that you make it appear, you make it seem like you are playing along without making your intentions public. Because as I said, if you are my president, if you're the president of Ghana, I would love for you to be in power forever. Only if you won't change, right? But this early moments or this early stages, you come out and go like, I want to accept democracy now, or maybe we should kiss democracy goodbye. Then you are giving the enemy or the opposition some kind of ammunition and bullets to use against you, right? You are giving them something to work with, to bring you down or to use against you, to back your agenda, to convince other people. Because me, like this, me personally, I want to be convinced. I can see for myself. I understand what's going on in the system, what's going on in in Africa, in our individual countries, right? And then I'm open-minded enough. I know what is right from what is wrong in terms of governance and all that, right? And I want to be convinced by the West or by some other group of people who want the downfall of Africa or our individual countries, right? I can't be convinced easily, right? But this is a saying in our local dialect back home here in Ghana. Which means not all fingers are the same, right? So someone might love you, right? Someone might like you because of what you are doing in Burkina Faso and West Africa and Africa, right? The way you are courageous and bringing development and positive changes in Burkina Faso. People will love you. But with statements like this, they will start to get some kind of they'll see that you guys are going in different directions in terms of like your visions with those kind of people who love you. It can be your own citizens too, right? And if you make statements like this, as I said, you give ammunition to the opposition or to the enemy, right? So they can go to this person who is now kind of having whose idea is not in sync with yours, right? And more of like going away from your vision or your idea, right? Such person, if that person doesn't have faith, that's a bigger faith and stronger faith in you like that person can be convinced easily, and it can be your citizen, it can be people from other African countries, right? They can be convinced easily, and which will help or which will go in favor of the opposition or the enemy to try and bring you down, to try and make your vision and your mission be a failed one, right? Or overthrow you, right? So I second Mr. Cyrus or I agree to the fact that these statements are not strategic on your behalf, which is President His Excellency Ibrahim Traoré. It's not strategic, right? But I'm also looking from this point of view that maybe he's declaring that the West, they are the enemy. If you are thinking like he's declaring to them that like don't think of democracy, don't think of there will be a time that you are going to vote to elect another person to come and lead the country into shambles once again, or lead the country into retardedness or regression, or like or lead the country backwards. Don't ever think of that. As long as I'm alive, don't ever think of that. So bring your worst or do your worst. I'm looking from our president. It's POV, right? That's what I'm getting. That's the feeling I'm getting from this kind of statement, this public statement that kiss democracy goodbye. Well, since I'm in power, or once I'm in power, kiss democracy goodbye. So do your worst. Whatever you want to do it. Bring it on. That's the feeling I'm getting from this. Let's continue.
And leave the rhetoric to the rest of us to speculate. Leave it to us to deal with. And when it's convenient, Mr. Traoré, you throw a referendum to sort of play alongside their game. You have to be tactical and elusive, Mr. President. This has worked so well for Paul Kagame in the last 20 years plus. You play their game and you beat them at it.
At their game.
You don't give the enemy anything that can be used against you. But all the same, the captain has made a decision. There will be no democracy and no election in Burkina Faso anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. If that was something you depended on or was waiting on to happen, it is not going to happen anytime soon. There is only going to be two options left for you. You either put the dream you have on the shelves, or you join them. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen.
If you can't be there, you join them.
It's a beautiful day. Happy Easter. Thank you for watching, being a part of this network. Be kind to subscribe and click on the bell if you enjoyed this.
Please go subscribe to Two Network on YouTube. Do well to subscribe to Two Network on YouTube. And also subscribe to my channel too, to this channel too, to get back-to-back content from this channel too. So I'm still standing on my and supporting my point that I prefer democracy to other kinds of or other forms of governance. But the exception is if Ibrahim Traoré is my president, then he says let's kiss democracy goodbye, and he's performing. Why not? I'll kiss democracy goodbye until maybe it changes and do opposite of what he's doing now, right? That's when I'll start calling for democracy once again, right? And also, just as Mr. Cyrus said, he's not being tactical, he's not being strategic, he's not being elusive enough, right? He should try and play along, right? But I agree with that point of view. But I'm also looking from this point of view that maybe he's telling the West or whoever it may concern that my country is not returning back to democracy, so do your best, right? Sort of the ball is in your court. I've done my part, or this is my vision, this is our ambition as a country. So do your worst. The ball is in your court now, right? So this is the end of the video, and I go by the name Niama. And this is New Wele News. If today is your first time coming across content from this channel and find value in it, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and comment to get back-to-back content from this channel. Hope to catch you on the next episode. I'm out.